All right. So can I rant to y'all for a little while about this show? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel here from the GeekSpeakNation channel, and we have a show we need to talk about called The Outsider that premiered on HBO, officially I think now 10 weeks ago. A show that the trailer really caught my attention, and not really for the sake of it being based off of a Stephen King novel. It's just the premise itself was really interesting. I just personally haven't delved too much into Stephen King's work. I mean, you know, the usual, I've seen The Shining, all that stuff, yada yada yada, but I never particularly went out of my way to be like, you know what, I need to see every movie based off of his books. But regardless, this show, the premise hooked me in the trailer, but then I forgot about it for about 6 weeks. So I had the opportunity of when episode 6 had already premiered and episode 7 was about to come out, I binge watched all the first 6 episodes in one night because I don't respect myself. And I ended up really enjoying the show. I think the show had an incredible start to it, really strong momentum. But then things started to fall apart literally right as episode 7 started happening after episode 6. But before we get critical, all right, I want to talk about the things that I really do like about this show, because even though a lot of elements ended up disappointing me towards the end, there's a lot that this show does right. And the number one thing specifically is Ben Mendelsohn, who plays as the lead detective, Ralph. He is absolutely fantastic. You never realize in your life that you didn't have enough Ben Mendelsohn. Anytime you catch him in a movie, he's normally in a supporting role, and you're like, man, I love that Ben Mendelsohn guy. Little did I know, I would want more than just 10 hours of Ben Mendelsohn in a TV show. This whole entire show could have just been Ben Mendelsohn in a room, alone with the script, and then someone off screen reads the rest of the lines as he performs his lines, and I'd be perfectly okay with it because he's such a terrific actor. Regardless, overall, all the performances are on that caliber of being really good and really engaging. It's just Ben Mendelsohn is just, to me, the number one standout. I thought I'd be talking about Jason Bateman more, but you know, he's not really in it that much. So I absolutely adored Ben Mendelsohn in the show, and I just thought he was a godsend the whole entire time watching it. I thought he was great. But another standout in this show that I feel like people aren't talking about is the music. The music is so good in this show. I cannot understate it. When you start getting into the more supernatural elements of this show, the number one thing that makes it so creepy, so ominous, so engaging is the music. Actually, I need to find out the composer's name. Okay, so I went to IMDb and I found them. These two people are responsible for the music on this show. All right, Danny Bensi. All right, my man's Danny. Okay, and Sonderjura. Triana. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm not gonna do the disrespect of mispronouncing your name. I'm not gonna do that to you because I really liked your music. Regardless, these two did a fantastic job, and their music, like I said, enhances those more supernatural elements in the show. So they deserve every single credit that is deserved, because there are scenes where nothing bad is going to happen. Nothing bad is happening at all, and there's no hint of something bad happening. But that music just creates a literal essence, a presence that is haunting every single scene, as if every single character is being watched at all time, and all times. Like, it is the most nerve-wracking thing. To me, this is really a show you need to watch with like a headset. You know, like a really good headset, not a home theater, like a headset, because that's the way I watched it. Like, I just had it on my laptop, and then I had headphones on, and it was just so intense. It was absolutely fantastic. And it ended up being that once the more supernatural elements ended up getting revealed, honestly, the music was more scary than the actual creature they ended up facing at the end. So I don't know how they did it, but they did a really great job. Great performances aside and great music aside, we need to get into this story. And the story is a mixed bag because it starts off incredibly strong. The characters, almost every single one of them, are incredibly engaging. And the mystery has me on the edge of my seat. I am locked in. I am loaded. I am ready to go. But once you get to episode 6, and we start having a confrontation, and we start having to have our characters come to the realization and accept that El Cuckoo is out there, that there is a spirit, an entity out there doing all these harmful things, the show hit the brakes. It felt like the story came to such a screeching halt. It was rough. It was rough. And like, I didn't know how to internalize it or like verbalize it as I was watching it week to week after episode 6 had gone on. But I was like slowly getting this feeling after every episode. I was like, I'm getting less and less engaged, and things that should not be taking up an entire episode are taking up an entire episode. Okay, this is happening. All right. And it's over. Okay. To me, the big part of it is like, it's a double-edged sword, right? When you want to slow things down and really let a concept dig itself in. On the one part, where the one part of the blade where it works is in Ben Mendelsohn's character, because watching his character slowly, his mind slowly just deteriorate at the idea of something being responsible for the death of Frankie Peterson that's not Terry Maitland, that's something that's not human, was just so incredible to watch. To watch that mental turmoil of a man coming to terms with the idea that there's something out there that he just can't explain to other people and that he can't control. There's something that he possibly can't convict. You know, that's a really incredible thing to watch, and it makes his moment of when he finally does believe, it's very well worth it, and it's very, very cathartic. But when it comes to everything else, like, you know, the plot and the actual progression of the mystery, that's when it gets really, really boring. Like, it gets really, really boring because, like I said, you're spending a whole entire episodes on things that would not take an entire episode, like the whole entire backstory of the Bolton family and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, it looks nice, but why is everything taking so long? When like everything was going at like breakneck pace, you know, in the first couple episodes where they're like, all right, he's already on, Terry Maitland's already on trial. Oh no, he's already got shot. Okay, the family's doing this, and then the family starts dying off. And if this show really felt like it should not have been 10 episodes, I feel like, even though I'm not a big fan of this finale, I feel like if you truncate this to like 7 or 8 episodes, you still got a solid series with a decent ending. Not the best, but a decent ending. But instead we have 10 episodes with a really strong start, a saggy middle, and then just like an ending that is just so... let's talk about it. The ending, the finale in general to this show, this whole big shootout, was somehow simultaneously so intense and so stupid at the same time. I was quite perplexed that they were able to create something like this. On the one hand, these characters who have been so rational and so with forethought the whole entire series become like the dumbest chickens with their heads cut off. Oh, my alarm's going off. Stop it, phone. Stop. So like I was saying, these people become like chickens with their heads cut off in the face of danger. I mean, and, you know, I get it. It's the face of danger. People make irrational choices, but these are like beyond stupid choices. If everyone's behind a truck, right? And behind this truck, that's getting shot at, but no one's dying, why is every single person who's behind the truck like, I'm gonna make a run for a car? What are we doing? Why? You were safe. You were safe. But even if you were gonna run, there are like 4 other people who are still alive, by the way, with guns. And what did they do? They just looked. They were just like, get back here, don't do it. I'm like, pop a couple rounds off in the woods. Have you ever heard of cover fire? Like, oh my God, you all let Andy die. Andy deserved better. We all know this. Andy deserved better. He did not deserve to go out like that. Granted, he did back up out that driveway, like me, like I am terrible when it comes to backing up, so I felt Andy's pain. So if people want to nitpick about him like backing up very slow, I disagree. It'd be like that. But Andy did not deserve to die. There were so many ways he could have lived. Like 1, not running, advance or die. How about we stay still and don't? And 2, like cover fire, man. Come on, cover fire. Like that could have solved a lot of that. And then the whole entire snake thing with Jack, I don't even, what? Like, I get it, themes, or he controls animals, or maybe the girl's warging. I don't know what's happening, but that was like the most confusing yet intense thing to ever happen. And if you see that like, hold on, I gotta go back to Andy. Andy's shot in the car. And good old attorney boy, a good old attorney man, lawyer boy, he decides, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna run up to that car that just got shot at and try to get Andy out. This guy, who I have 0 emotional attachment to, I'm gonna run out there and try to get him out of that car that literally just got shot. Oh, what was this finale? I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, if they wanted like so many people to die, they could have done it with the, I don't know. They could have done it in a much better way. They could have just, I mean, at the end of episode 9, he fires off like 5 shots and it cuts to black or something like that. Why not just have the characters you wanted to die, and most of them just die in that moment, you know, like Andy and all and stuff. Just have them die off screen, and then we start episode 10 with them dead, because I guess they wrote themselves into a corner with this 10-minute shootout, and they're like, everyone has to make the dumbest decisions to make sure they get themselves killed and not flank or use cover fire to help each other out. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just getting too caught up or hung up on this, but I thought, yeah, that shootout was something else. And then it ends because he gets bitten by a snake, which, whether or not it was controlled by supernatural means or coincidence, seemingly broke Jack's mind control from El Cuco. All right, stick with me here. And then he decides to off himself with that high caliber rifle. Okay. I don't know. It just felt like a very lackluster end for Jack in his whole entire journey. I mean, he was struggling with pulling that trigger that whole entire time, but I guess it took that snake venom dog to like really break that connection from El Cuco. But yeah, so the shootout ends, and I'm just like, okay, well, that was intense but weird. And then we get into the main confrontation. All right, we get inside the cave. We got my boy Bindi Ben Mendelsohn, the man with the plan. And, oh my God, why am I forgetting her name? Oh, I forgot her character's name. It's Cynthia. I know that. Why do I know the actress's name? It's Cynthia Erivo, but I don't know the name of the character I've been watching for the last 10 weeks. I've never seen Cynthia Erivo in another film before or TV show, but I know her name. But I don't know the name of her character I've been watching for the last 10 weeks. That is my brain. Okay, there we go. Holly Gibney. That's Holly. Jesus. Dude, I've been watching the show. I've been watching the show for weeks. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So, now I forget Ben Mendelsohn's Ralph. Okay, there we go. Thanks, IMDb. You're the best. Ralph and Holly, they end up going inside of the cave to finally face El Cuco, who looks like Claude. And how do I remember his name off the dome? Beats me. So Ralph and Holly go in there to go face off against El Cuco. And here's the thing. I like what they did with the confrontation with El Cuco, but I also don't like it at the same time, because I know one thing that a lot of people are saying, like in defense of the show, is like, you're just expecting some typical Stephen King thing where the monster like explodes and becomes this big blob and everyone's gotta fight it or something like that. And that is not true, because for a show that has been so understated and very subtle, I think this interpretation of a confrontation with this otherworldly being, this entity, is perfect. Like, this is the type of thing I would have expected from this show. Like, we catch El Cuco in glimpses, only in him feeding, you know, being this feral beast who's alone, just ripping things apart and meeting people and just being a disgusting little thing. And then when we actually meet him, he's like, make sure you cling to the walls, you don't want to slip. And I'm like, oh, okay, so he does speak. And it wasn't surprising to me. To me, it felt right, actually. It felt like, even though this creature is very feral and he's very otherworldly and he feeds off of the, you know, the literal pain of other people, and, you know, sodomizes them and does terrible, terrible things and is an evil, evil thing. It's interesting to see him try to explain himself, because it's like no one's ever asked him before why he does the things he does, and why does he do it to the people he does it to. And he's faced with the realization that he doesn't know why. He just does it, and it feels and tastes good to him. And that's why he does terrible things to all these people. And he doesn't even know where he came from. All those concepts and that entire confrontation in that regard is absolutely fantastic. And that's what I wanted out of a confrontation. Like a final fight would really just be more so of words and ideologies and trying to come to an understanding of one another. That's what I wanted from El Cuco, and I got it, so I was happy about it. I'm glad it wasn't this big, you know, he rips off his skin like Men in Black or something like that, and he's a big cockroach looking thing. Like, glad it didn't go that route. However, my issue with it is that the way, like, the second half of it is written, Ben Mendelsohn's character is like, stop asking El Cuco questions, stop asking questions, and then El Cuco has this Slim Shady moment with the real Claude Bolton line, which I enjoyed. It's good to know that even Satan is a fan of Eminem. But while all that stuff is going on and the cave has the possibility of collapsing, it's nice, but it didn't lead towards a satisfying conclusion / confrontation. He just went out so easily and pitifully, with a shotgun to the groin stomach area, shotgun blast to the groin stomach area, and a knife to the chest, and then a bashed in skull. And it just felt oddly just unsatisfying, you know? Because, or maybe it would have felt more satisfying if the conversation was longer between our characters and the villain. You know, just give me something to feed off of. Like, if they're not gonna have this big climactic, you know, hand-to-hand combat fight, oh my god, who's gonna survive? If we're not gonna do that, then really get me engrossed in that conversation. Make the conversation even better than what a fight would be like physically between these characters. But I didn't get any of that, and we just got this pretty short scene where they exchange a couple words. Claude comes in, skadoosh, hits him with the boomstick, and then that's essentially it. And that's it. And I was just like, okay, I guess. Somehow I expected more from this final confrontation, but I also expected the minimalist approach that they would take at the same time. So I don't understand how they were somehow able to give me the minimalistic approach that I wanted, but yet still make it disappointing. So go figure, man. But we did, however, once everyone starts to exit the cave, Claude and Holly, once they start to exit the cave, and Ralph ends up going back because he sees his son, and he's like, all right. It's time to put an end to this, because he was like, nope, I'm not walking out of this cave knowing that is a thing that I just saw. That is my dead son. We're not living with this. We're gonna go back, resolve this, and then I'm leaving this cave. But that conversation he has when he ends up going back and seeing El Cuco, you never really get to see, and not really even in like a Stephen King property, you never get to see the hero. He just really talked trash to the bad guy. It's just like, just gave him a threat of like, dude, I could expose you to the world, and you would just be ripped apart by scientists, and you'd be looked at as a tourist attraction, and you would have wished you were dead. But honestly, but then it got weird, because then it was like, honestly, the best thing for us is to pretend like you never existed. And I'm like, but is it though? Is it? Because it feels like a contradiction to your character arc is about coming to terms with what reality is, whether it's something that's completely unbelievable like El Cuco dying, or something as unbelievably heartbreaking as your son dying. The whole entire point of his journey was about coming to terms with what with what Ralph had gone through. So I felt like this ending of where he just bashes El Cuco's head in and that's the end of it, just did not feel like a proper end to that character arc fully with that confrontation. But the scene that follows afterwards, or like 2 scenes later, where he actually goes back to his son's grave, or actually this is the final scene, where he goes back to his son's grave and he finally tells his wife that he had the dream and it said to let him go. That was powerful. That almost that caught me up a little bit, and that was really, really beautiful, and I enjoyed that. So that was very nice. So I thought I'm glad that was in there, because that was a much more fitting into his character arc, because that cave was a little bit of a stumble when he ends up killing El Cuco. But going back, because after he kills El Cuco, supposedly, then we go back. Oh God, we go back to them trying to figure out their story for the police. And I don't know. Sometimes when I watch things, I question, like, I don't know. Maybe Daniel, you just weren't paying attention, and you just didn't get it. You just weren't paying attention. You were zoned out. But then I went on Reddit after this episode was over, and it was nice to have my opinion validated that their plan made no sense to explain to the police what happened about Claude being involved and someone that looks at it. Made no sense at all whatsoever. I did not get it. I don't know what they told the police that allowed them to get away scot-free, but they did it, I guess. I don't know. It was really, really weird. It was so weird and confusing. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I was not a big fan of it. Of the whole police wrap up, and then everyone's just feeling pretty good, and they're walking out like, you can tell everybody, and just having a good time with that wrap up. Wasn't a fan. But then we get into the real moment that really, really rustled my jimmies. Okay, this is the moment that really It really pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. So like I said, if we had just ended at the graveyard scene with Ralph coming to terms with all that stuff, and it's like the perfect end for his character arc, you know, I love it. I think that's a good idea. You know, it's about letting go, and then the final shot being Frankie Peterson's grave to remind you guys, like, hey, this is what it's been about the whole entire time. A child died. This is what it's about. I like that. However, they had a post-credit scenes for the El Cuco cinematic universe because they had to set up for the sequel. In the setup, Holly's in the bathroom, and she sees Jack in the reflection, and so she grabs a little hand mirror, checks her neck. It's perfectly fine, buttery smooth. Cocoa butter chocolate, cocoa butter kisses smooth, right? And then she's in bed. She's twirling her hair, and she has a cut on her forearm. And El Cuco transfers via cuts, right? And scratches. And also the footage is playing backwards, which is weird. Like her hair is falling back. I don't know. It's like some visual. I don't know. It's trying to tell you something, I guess. It's very hard to put into words how dumb and how unearned that, and how just not logical, like illogical this ending is. Like, it's bad, this end credit scene, because not only is there zero way she could have gotten scratched in that final confrontation, and you can't even make the excuse, like, okay, so like, even if you tried to make the excuse of like, oh well, actually El Cuco, you know, when she went to stab him in the chest, El Cuco probably scratched her. Then, like, you're telling me that, okay, no, we're gonna do this visual demonstration, right? You're telling me that El Cuco, right, her sleeve was down, by the way, that he went while she stabbed him with her was it right or left arm? I can't remember, but somehow took his hand, went up her sleeve, up to about mid-arm, and then scratched down, right? Scratched down as that was happening. Up a closed, not like an open sleeve like mine, a closed sleeve, went up it, and then scratched her. Come on, Sway. Come on, Sway. I think this is a very dumb season finale to have, and especially with that post-credit scene, because it's just such a stupid, cliched horror trope of, and then they killed the monster. Or did they? Ooh. And it's just so unearned. It's just so unearned to have the dumbest of endings. And I guess, like, they're trying to play up to there's more of them out there, because El Cuco has that brief moment where he's like, I had a feeling there was others. You know, because he makes such weird noises. But they had that moment where they were like, you know, there's others out there. There was another boy who died recently in the cave or something like that, and that just went completely unresolved or not talked about. So there possibly is another El Cuco out there, or another entity, and maybe that's what the next season is about, because they're hinting at them teaming up again on some supernatural Batman and Robin type stuff. But man, I'd rather, if they were going to hint at the presence of another mind-controlled person or another El Cuco, or her becoming this new entity, I think they just completely dropped the ball, man. There's so many other things they could have done in order to make a more satisfying hook for a possible season 2. But this was literally the most asinine thing they could have possibly done that makes no sense at all whatsoever. I hope it's just a red herring and it's just a regular scratch that she got from being around all this explosions and is it stalagmites or stalactites falling? from the ceiling. Which ones are the ones that fall from the ceiling? Anyways, any of those stuff falling, you know, maybe. But that scratch stuff, that was just so silly. That was just absolutely so silly, and was like the cherry on top of a very dumb season finale. I don't know if I want a season 2, but if they say Ben Mendelsohn and Cynthia Erivo are coming back, then I'm down for it, I guess. But I'm not banking for it, you know. I'm not waiting eagerly for The Outsider season 2. And it's a shame because I was recommending this show to everybody when I was watching the first couple of episodes. But then it just, that ending. And I was like, am I going insane? Like, is it just me? And, you know, and I popped on that Reddit and looked at the live feed of people who were commenting as the finale was happening, and everyone was just like, what? What the hell is going on? This makes no sense. So yeah, guys, those are my spoiler-filled thoughts very early in the morning about The Outsider. Like, I couldn't stop thinking about this while I was going to sleep. I was like, what was that ending? Really strong start. Really great performances. Really great, fantastic, honestly underrated music that I personally think deserves an Emmy. Really good music, but such a slog of a middle section that takes forever to get to things that could be easily done in like 20 minutes, like 20-minute sequence, in a really, really bad season finale where everyone acts so stupid. And that's my review of The Outsider, dog. Let me know what you think about The Outsider Season 1 in the comment sections down below. And while you're down there, do you want a Season 2? I'm not sure if I do, but I really like Ben Mendelsohn, so, you know, I'll take 10 more hours of him doing Ben Mendelsohn stuff. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit the bell notification to all so you actually know when I get posted on your feed, and you get more videos of me talking and ranting and doing stuff like this. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm Daniel, and don't forget to get geeky.